Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And for folks who may not have caught any of the earlier live stream, we are, due to the reduction in the significant rainfall threat here into the Carolinas, we will not be going live tonight at 11 p.m. All right, let's take a look. We do have Tropical Storm Imelda now. The National Hurricane Center has found winds here at 40 miles an hour as of the 2 p.m. advisory. Still continues at 40 miles an hour with the 5 p.m. primary advisory. We also have Humberto out here, and then we also have this little swirl of low pressure trying to develop out here into the central Gulf. I will talk about this one briefly because I know that there are a few people out there with some questions regarding this one, and I'll show you what's going to happen with that. So let's go ahead and get right to it. We have Imelda on the board now. If we take a look at the most recent satellite view, we can also tell that this is definitely starting to lift north. Here it is very close to the eastern side of Andros Island and is continuing to lift north and will continue to lift north for about the next 24 to 36 hours. And then it will put its right turn signal on and exit stage right rather quickly. And for folks in Bermuda, you better really, really watch out. Get all your preparations done because Umberto's got you underneath watches now. You're going to go under warnings for that. You're not going to see potentially much. Your wind probabilities have come down. But right directly on the heels of Humberto is going to be Imelda. And Imelda has your wind percentages increasing quite a lot from advisory to advisory. So for the folks in Bermuda, I would recommend preparing for potential hurricane impacts. It's not a guarantee, but you always prepare for more than what you're going to get. And I would prepare for potential hurricane impacts. I really would. So Imelda currently is located at 24.2 north, 77.3 west, about 55 miles south-southwest of the northwest Bahamas, and about 55 miles southeast of Cape Canaveral. Not south-southeast, just southeast. Maximum sustained winds remain at 40 miles an hour, and it is moving north at 9 miles an hour at 360 degrees, which is due north. If we see this number tick into, say, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, that means at that point that the eastern influence from Humberto has begun. So we're going to be keeping a very close watch on that number right there to see when that eastern influence begins. Minimum central pressure of 998 millibars. And here we go, just like we thought. Tropical Storm Watch has been discontinued for the east coast of Florida. So no more tropical storm watches for anywhere in the U.S. Now, obviously, we still have tropical storm warnings in effect for the central Bahamas and northwestern Bahamas and all of the other islands there in and surrounding. That's a guarantee. The storm is literally right on top of them. Wind impacts for our hazards affecting land, as we can see here. Obviously, for the Bahamas through Monday morning. So as we get into tomorrow morning, conditions should begin to improve. As the center of circulation gets to the north of whatever location it may be, at whatever specific location you want to pick, dry air will be entraining in on the south side. A lot of the heavier showers and thunderstorms will be located to the north of the center and in around the center. I'm not saying it will be totally dry on the south side, but there will be a lot less shower and thunderstorm activity on the southern side of the center of circulation compared to the north side. So our rainfall, we are looking at 2 to 4 inches across eastern Cuba and 4 to 8 inches across the northwest Bahamas through Tuesday. This rainfall will likely produce flash and urban flooding. Mudslides are also possible in areas of higher terrain across eastern Cuba. I have seen video of some minor street flooding in the Bahamas today, so folks, please exercise caution. It is not recommended to drive through flooded roadways. I understand why the individual was doing it. They were straddling the yellow line in the middle of the road and they could clearly see it. So at that point, they were driving very carefully, very slowly through those floodwaters, and they were a media outlet kind of covering those floodwaters. So our storm rainfall totals of 2 to 4 inches with local maxima of 6 inches are still expected across coastal South Carolina into southeast North Carolina. So that could also cause some flooding. So please, folks, exercise caution and do not drive through flooded roadways. Our storm surge 1 to 3 feet above ground level along the areas of onshore winds here in the northwestern Bahamas. Even though we have had our tropical storm watch discontinued for the east coast of Florida, that does not mean that there will not be impacts. We still have the possibility of some coastal flooding of 1 to 2 feet at the time around high tide between the Volusia-Brevard County line in Florida all the way up to the South Santee River of South Carolina. So there still will be the potential for some minor coastal flooding impacts. And the rip currents, folks, I just as plain and as blunt as I could put it, don't go in the water. Just stay out of the water. It's really that simple. I hate to see when we get a statistic or a fatality or a significant injury for a storm that never made landfall to the United States, and all it would have taken is for an individual to stay out of the water, and that entire situation could have been avoided. So please, folks, highly recommended. Please stay out of the water. All right. Taking a look at the most recent forecast cone. If we remember a couple days ago, we had the forecast cone up here right off the coast of the Carolinas. Now, because Imelda did not develop further to the east and to the north like was previously expected, and was able to organize quicker and to be able to feel that southerly flow and draw northward faster, and it stayed down here towards eastern Cuba. Now, the result is a hard right-hand turn in response to the approach of Humberto. Now, we also see that Bermuda is located directly in the middle of the cone here. And it is not very far from where we would see a center track line if I had a center track line available here. I don't use that. I use the experimental cone. So, as you can see, hurricane impacts are becoming more and more probable as we get more and more data, and this becomes a stronger, hard turn to the right. And folks in Bermuda, this is honestly going to be probably the quickest 1-2 punch that I have ever seen. And that also includes areas Eastern Pacific, Western Pacific, the Indian Ocean, the Bay of Bengal, down in Australia, the Arabian Sea, wherever tropical cyclones or quote unquote hurricanes, typhoons, whatever you want to call them, wherever they develop, I'm usually watching. And I don't think I can recall ever a time to where you've got one going by and then it picks up a second one and just slingshots it right into the location and it's directly on the heels. I don't think I've ever seen this. And I can't even recall anything remotely close to this in history. I will be reaching out. Today's Sunday, so I'm not trying to bother any professionals, but I will definitely be reaching out to a couple professionals come first thing tomorrow morning. Has this ever occurred? Ever? And I don't think so, because we just got watches issued this afternoon for Bermuda from Humberto. If we look at the forecast track, some of these have it in the vicinity of Bermuda in 72 hours. That's big time. I'm very concerned for the folks in Bermuda. I really am. Our key messages for Imelda. Tropical Storm Imelda is expected to strengthen and bring tropical storm conditions to portions of the central and northwestern Bahamas through Monday. Number two, rainfall associated with Tropical Storm Imelda will continue to impact eastern Cuba and the Bahamas through Tuesday, which will likely produce flash and urban flooding. Mudslides are possible in the higher terrain. Heavy rainfall across the coastal Carolinas could cause isolated flash, urban, and river flooding through Tuesday. Number three, the risk of significant wind impacts along the southeastern United States coast is decreasing, but interest in that area should continue to monitor the latest forecast updates. As long as you're not going to the beach and you don't live on the extreme coastal region, just monitor your National Weather Service office just in case a flood advisory or something were to get named. And as we could see here, swells and high surf from both Humberto and Imelda are expected to produce dangerous marine conditions and rip currents along the east coast of Florida and the Georgia coast through Monday. These conditions are expected to spread northward along much of the east coast of the United States early this week. And just so we can real quick cover that flash flooding, a very slight chance of flash flooding here from Wilmington to Charleston. And that is primarily through Monday through Tuesday morning and maybe a little bit of a remnant here Tuesday, Wednesday. But otherwise than that, a marginal for flash flooding. It's not a lot, folks. It's nothing what we were looking at earlier this week. It is reduced so much that we're not going live tonight for any kind of... We're not doing any more special coverage on this. So what we've got here is the discussion for Imelda. I am going to read paragraph number 2 because this has to do with the track. Paragraph 3 is about its potential intensification. Bermuda, watch out. A more established motion with Imelda appears to finally be occurring this afternoon. Due northward at 360 degrees at 8 knots. A general northward motion is expected to continue over the next day or so as southerly steering persists from both an upper trough over the southeastern United States and the subtropical ridge centered just east of Bermuda. After that time period, the subtropical ridge's steering influence decreases as Hurricane Humberto's larger outer circulation creates a large weakness. The end result of this pattern change is that Imelda is now forecast to turn sharply east-northeastward into this weakness, starting on Tuesday and continuing through the remainder of the forecast period following behind Humberto. The track guidance this cycle has finally started to stabilize near the previous forecast track, though it's still a tick faster than the previous forecast cycle, and quite a bit of a long track spread remains in the 4-5 day time frame. The NHC track forecast lies in between the GFS and Euro track solutions, closest but not quite as fast as the Google DeepMind ensemble mean. If we look at the forecast intensities, as we are getting into the proximity and the area of Bermuda, right now the forecast has it as 90-mile-an-hour, strong Category 1, just under a Category 2 wind speed and intensity. So please, folks, in Bermuda, please, I can't stress this enough. We just need to get rid of this damn thing. All right? That's all. And unfortunately, you may be in the path. So please, please, please make preparations. And as we can see here, we finally are going to get our first mission into Humberto. As you can see here, mission number 1, all of the aircraft reconnaissance has been flying, trying to figure out exactly what is going on with Imelda. Now that we've got a good idea of exactly what's going to occur with Imelda, now we're flying one out to Humberto. So it will be very interesting to see what information this finally is able to acquire, being that it will be the first time that we have flown into Humberto. I wouldn't have been surprised if we could have had a hurricane reconnaissance in there while it was Category 5 and at its peak intensity. It might have been a little bit stronger than 160 miles an hour. That was all coming from remote sensing from satellites and advanced Dorvac techniques and stuff like that, microwave imagery. There could have been areas within that eye wall feature, especially on that northeastern side, that could have been stronger than 160. But it's going to go down as 160, so it's still a Category 5 regardless. So as we can see, reconnaissance is still ongoing. They're flying into Imelda and will be getting towards Humberto as well. Our rainfall totals continue to shift and become all that heavy stuff is mostly offshore, though our friends down here into the Bahamas, as you could see, maybe 8 upwards, localized amounts could be even higher than 8 inches here into the northwestern Bahamas. So please, folks, just stay safe. Respect the cyclones right now. Let them get out of their way. Now, this is where I find things kind of interesting, because this has happened now 2 in a row. So what I have here are the wind speed probabilities, and I've got both of them for Imelda and we have for Humberto. Now we've got Bermuda sitting right in the middle of this 70 to 80, really, really close to the 80-90% color. So you would figure, okay, tropical storm force winds, we are looking at somewhere in the high 70% range as to what is shown on this graphic. Our 50-knot wind speed would then be somewhere between 30 and 40 as noted by this yellow color. Okay, so let's take a look. If we scroll down through Imelda, we have a 61% chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds. Now that doesn't relay to the 70-80% that we see there. We were expecting a high 70. The chance for our 50-knot winds, 32%, is properly represented on the graphic. And here's what is becoming concerning. We now have an opportunity for a 15% chance seeing hurricane force winds there in Bermuda. That may not sound like a lot, but over the last 3 runs, we have watched this go from 0 to 15. We have watched all of these increase as well. So Bermuda, you really need to prepare for the potential of hurricane impacts. Our most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds are going to be with Imelda are going to be during the overnight hours sometime on Wednesday night going into Thursday morning. The forecast for Imelda has sped up from the previous advisory. It is moving much quicker. So you won't even get the one warning expired before you're into the next warning. That's how this whole thing's going to play out. And that's why it is imperative that folks in Bermuda rush your preparations to completion. Our rip currents. This is today's rip current forecast. Anywhere in the red, stay out of the water. It is that simple. Here is tomorrow's forecast. That is more areas to where folks stay out of the water. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not. There's only one thing when it comes to tropical cyclones that truthfully cannot be replaced. That's a life. Don't take the risk. It's not worth it. If we look at the European significant wave height model, now and this has also got the direction of the onshore flow, and it is right here. As you can see, 48 hours, we've got our arrows here into the southeastern United States pointed directly at the coastline. So the rip currents are going to be extremely high and potentially deadly. Stay out of the water. As we run this forward, as you could see, we get a lot of wave action, a lot of churned up waters because of the fact that you're going to have, one, you already had a category 5 out there, and we're also going to be dealing with another hurricane. So please, folks, respect the water. It's not a good time right now. All right, I am now going to jump over to Humberto. Still a very symmetrical, very powerful, high-end hurricane. It is still a category 4, but it's got a lot of power to it. It is currently located at 25.5 degrees north, 65.4 degrees west, at about 525 miles north-northwest of the northern Leeward Islands, and about 470 miles south of Bermuda. Maximum sustained winds of 145 miles an hour, moving northwest at 13 miles an hour, with a minimum central pressure of 937 millibars. With this advisory, a tropical storm watch has now been issued for Bermuda. If you were to think about it, if this wasn't in place, another watch would be issued for them probably tomorrow, and that would be for Imelda. But they're already going to be under a tropical storm watch because of Humberto. So a big time 1-2 punch, folks. Big time. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Rainfall on Bermuda, 1 to 2 inches of rainfall there. But the risk is she's dreaming again. She's bark dreaming. But the big risk is going to be with wind. As you can see here, Humberto is not even forecast to become close to Bermuda. But the overall wind field itself, as you can see, expands well outside of the cone of uncertainty. You don't necessarily have to be in the cone to receive impacts. Are you okay down there, little one? So looking at the discussion, one big thing that I'd like to point out here, we're not going to read the whole thing. Overall, no significant changes were made to the NHC track intensity or radii forecast for Humberto. So as you could see there, we really didn't get much change at all. It is still forecast to be a major hurricane through the next 36 hours, then falling below major hurricane status there at 48 hours, becoming extratropical in 4 days, and then being completely dissipated by day 5, which, hey, we'll welcome that. Now, again, here are the wind speed probabilities for Bermuda. We don't have a lot of hurricane potential from Humberto. We look at the 50-knot winds. There is a potential there, and then our tropical storm force winds. If we look at its wind speed percentages, 44 for our tropical storm force wind speed percentages for Bermuda from Humberto. That's it. Now, and we've already gone over the other percentages for Imelda. They're much higher, and that's the problem. This could end up being a sneaky little 1-2 punch, and I don't like it. Its overall expansion of winds it's gonna be a little bit of an expansion of its wind field, but overall it is not an extreme amount. It is when we get into this range here where we may see on that southeastern quadrant maybe some tropical storm force winds there to the folks in Bermuda. If we take a look at the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds for Bermuda from Humberto, we are looking at Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning, Humberto's tropical storm force winds potentially arrive. Then Wednesday night, Imelda's. Less than 48 hours. 1, 2. Crazy. Taking a look at our ensembles. Now, as you can see, the euro no longer favors anything headed towards the coast. It is finally completely on board, and more of its ensemble members are racing Imelda out to sea. I've got this out 7 days. And as you can see here, there's a little bit of chicken scratch, a little circle here, a little circle there, a little circle here, a little circle there. Again, we'll go over that here in just a moment in a few more frames. I'm going to discuss that through Earthnol and not the models. So as we can see here, comparing the Euro Legacy with the GEFS potentially has Imelda with a few of its ensemble members, as you can see here, maybe getting it left behind, but the official NHC forecast has this thing racing off into the open waters of the Atlantic, well past Bermuda, and then becoming post-tropical due to a frontal boundary interaction. If we take a look at our Euro AI, this is another one that was showing the potential there for getting into the southeast United States. It is no longer have anything like that. A little bit of chicken scratch down here into the southwestern Gulf. And if we compare that with the Google DeepMind, now as you can see for Imelda, the Google DeepMind is all for it. Put your right hand turn signal on and goodbye. If I run this forward, look, 3, 4, 5 days, there's one circle. One. Now, yes, we see a little something out here with another approaching wave later on down the line, but we've got plenty of time to watch that and talk about that if a more coherent signal were to develop off of that. Now, checking into our trends, we are going to take a look at our consensus model. As you can see, the consensus model has finally stopped shifting back and forth, but I've got some really bad news. Bermuda is buried under that little thin line. That's terrible. And then category 2 with our HCCA consensus intensity. If we take a look at our TVCN, as you could see, granted, there's a little bit of a turn right here, but Bermuda is right there. So that's too close. That's honestly, that is just too close for comfort. We're in and around the 96-hour mark, and as you can see, right in and around that 96-hour mark is when we are at our peak intensity. Now, the IVCN, or the intensity for the TVCN, that has us getting up to around 80 knots, which is right where the National Hurricane Center's forecast is, and that is 90 miles an hour. So we're definitely looking at a potential serious situation unfolding here for Bermuda. And as you can see with the National Hurricane Center's forecast track, hopefully the center of circulation travels south of Bermuda. That would at least put it on the front left quadrant and not the front right, even though it's not really going to make much of a difference, when a little bit, but not a lot, especially if you get something that is forecast to be around 90 miles an hour in that close proximity. We'll definitely be able to see it on Bermuda radar as it approaches. And again, 80 knots officially from the National Hurricane Center. All right, taking a look at our deterministic runs, our 850 millibar vorticity. We've got the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. And we can obviously see both systems here. Humberto weakens the subtropical ridge there, and then Imelda follows suit. Now, if we get down here to day 4, got that little spot of energy that we're looking at into the central Gulf. If you notice, this is going all the way down to the southern Gulf. Now, when that occurs, I'm going to show you through Earth Null. If it gets too far south, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. It will be deposited rapidly into, it'll get shredded and deposited into the Eastern Pacific. So right now, we don't really, we've got good news. And then running it out for 10 days, maybe we've got a little spot on that wave, maybe a little homegrown area of low pressure developing along the frontal boundary, which that's not necessarily ever out of the question, but nothing imminently tropical over the next 10 days. Taking a look at our humidity, and here at the mid and lower levels, well, mostly the mid levels, we've got the 500 millibar level on the top, which is approximately 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. We have our 700 millibar level on the bottom, which is approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. Now, our browns represent our dry air and our greens represent our moisture. We can clearly see where Imelda and Humberto both are located here. Now, as we run this forward, look at the amount of dry air that then replaces this particular system on the Euro. The Euro has an immense amount of dry air scattered all across from about 20 degrees, 22 degrees northward, west of 60. And we're talking about an extreme amount of dry air here in the 500 millibar level on this upper left-hand graphic. If we compare that to the GFS, they are similar. All right, we're going to push this out 120 hours. We're out 5 days. The GFS maybe has a little bit more mid-level moisture here into the Bahamas off the east coast of Florida in 5 days. Again, that's not organized by any means. It's just the moisture. And if we look at the 700 millibar level, the euro wants to try to, maybe get a little area of energy here into the Bahamas. I don't necessarily trust that because nothing else is showing up on the models as well. And as you could see, even if I were to run that forward, that completely falls apart. And then if it were to try to do something, it would be associated with a frontal boundary and non-tropical in nature. If we take a look at our wind shear, we have the euro on the left, GFS on the right. These two graphics represent our winds from the 850 millibar level, which is approximately 5,000 feet or 1 mile above the ocean surface, all the way up to the 200 millibar level, which is approximately 40,000 feet above the ocean surface. Now, what we're looking for is the winds that change with height and any of that increase. As we could see here, right there, and you'll note that the National Hurricane Center said that it could potentially enter the front right area of a jet, like the increasing jet streak. It's this interaction right here. This is what could promote intensification of this as it is on its way to Imelda. It has taken a little bit more of that southerly track. I mean, if it was a little further north, it would be dealing with a lot of this shear. But because it is forecast to be a little further south, it may slip a little under that shear and then use that shear as an enhancing factor for intensification as it is moving in the same general direction of those winds. All right, now we're going to jump over here to Earth Null real quick. Now I've got our trusty green circle here located on Imelda. Now, the whole reason that I'm showing this here tonight has nothing to do with either one of these storms. I want to talk about this right here with Earth Null. Now, I will come up to the 250 millibar level real quick and discuss that Imelda in this down shear side, that's where a lot of the thunderstorm activity is going to occur. So as the center of circulation continues to move forward and northward, that area down shear side is going to be potentially close to the Carolina coastline. So please, folks, just be careful. That's all that I ask. Just be careful. So let's get back down here to the surface. We've got our trusty green circle here located on that area of low pressure. But look at the winds. All right. All the winds are coming offshore the United States in response to a high pressure ridge that is up there. Okay. So we're going to take the GFS solution, which is what Earth Null is as we run this forward, and we are going to go forward in time. 1, 2, 3. This is 24 hours from now. Now, as you could see, that's a pretty decent looking low pressure at that point, right? All right, let's come up to the 850 millibar level. We got something there as well. But also keep in mind, look at the winds. All right, so here we have Humberto and Imelda, and the flow that is coming around that is creating a wind field across the Gulf that is going to help continue to push this off to the southwest and down deeper into the Gulf. Now, could something develop? Maybe. A very, very low chance. But as we go forward another 24 hours, you don't see the increase in winds. You don't see these brighter colors and tighter wind barbs. It's not. It's just there. We look at the surface. We don't have much for an increase in wind at all. Come up to the 500 millibar level, and there's not much. if you drop down to the 850 with the winds that are coming out like this, and then you go up to the 500 millibar level and you get winds that are coming like this, but wait, there's more. If we flip over to the relative humidity, that's where the storm is, where our trusty green circle is. All of this brown is dry air. And then you're adding a shear component on top of it. All right, this is why the National Hurricane Center doesn't have anything on it. If we look at the 250 millibar winds, you're getting a completely different wind vector. You've got the low levels going like this, the 500 millibar level going like this, and then the 250 coming down like this in response to this upper level low right here. So, that being said, this will continue further south. 1, 2, 3. As you can see, we're getting closer and closer to the southern part of the Gulf. But let's come up to the 850 millibar level. Now, what you're starting to notice here, as it is getting further and further down, and the winds that are coming around the western side are blowing through the Isthmus of Tehuantepec and creating a wind gap event. The moment that this low pressure gets down here and in this flow, watch what happens. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye. See that? You see it right there. It's on approach. It gets too close. It compresses that wind. It's going around the topography here on land. That wind is blowing very freely offshore. It goes right between the mountain ranges here and out into the eastern Pacific. In 1 8-hour frame, in one click, goodbye. Bye-bye. The energy of that is right there. And it is on its way that way. So this is one of the big reasons: the dry air, the increased shear, the forecast track getting down further and further into the southern Gulf. Now, the water temperatures are extremely warm down there. Could something develop as we get, further and further down there? Maybe. But right now, with all of that dry air, it would have to perform a miracle. And I'm not too sure if Mother Nature is into divine intervention. All right, jumping out to the eastern Pacific. We have disturbance number 1. Does not have an area of invest on it. I was kind of surprised that it doesn't. Currently has a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 70% chance of development over the next 7 days. Disturbance number 2. We don't even have an X on the board yet. We're looking at, obviously, a 0% chance of development over the next 48 hours. It's not even there. And a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. And then we also have Tropical Storm Narda that will likely be pulled off the board with the next primary advisory. Well, not pulled off the board, but its final advisory issued. If we look at the satellite view, this is our 4070 area right here. That is Narda. It has gotten north of the 20-degree line, and it has decided to go poof. And as you can see here, for our other spot that was highlighted, we don't have anything there yet. We are waiting it to come from about there and get its way up. And then also, a part of that low pressure, as it comes down and rolls through this wind gap event, that also might be a little piece of that energy that helps with that. Maybe. We'll see. Real quick, going through the location of Narda, as you can see, above 20 north. Goodbye. 20.4 north, 125.4 west. Maximum sustained winds are down to 40. It is currently moving north at 8 miles an hour, and the minimum central pressure has come up to 1,008 millibars. There were never any coastal watches or warnings in effect, or were there ever going to be. The surf, yes, there was a significant hurricane out there. It churned up the waters. So please, folks, be careful. Monitor your local officials. If we take a look at the forecast cone, no need to use the experimental cone with this one because it is going to be gone. I would imagine with the next advisory will be the last one. As you can see here, it's legitimately nothing. And there, post-tropical, still continuing to weaken. Will still be a remnant low through the next 72 hours and then dissipated there on day 4. Jumping out to the Typhoon Warning Center, Booyale finally made landfall here into parts of Vietnam. Has caused a considerable amount of flooding and impacts, especially to Vietnam, and will be moving inland further towards Laos and Thailand, and has also caught the Hainan Peninsula here with some of that back inflow rain band. Neo Guri, this thing, we've got, me and this thing got some personal issues, and it doesn't care. But as you can see, this thing is 95 knots, has almost a Category 3 hurricane. It is weakening. It was a Category 3, typhoon, but on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale. And as you could see, 70 knots, still containing that typhoon strength, then finally succumbing to 50 knots. And then it is also starting to turn that track like this. If this thing had stayed on that particular heading, we may have had to talk about these folks out here and potentially some kind of tropical something or other. I swear, the day that I'm here and that we get an actual warning for a tropical system, not a post-tropical system, not something that was once a super typhoon out there, moved up, enhanced baroclinically, became this big, large, polar type low, and then moved into the Bering Straits and caused some issues there for coastal Alaska. We've seen that. We've seen that numerous times. The one thing that I've never seen is anything fully tropical getting up near Alaska. So, got close. That's the second time this year that it's getting close. And so, thankfully, we're starting to get towards October. And, this kind of intensity with tropical systems are definitely going to start to lessen in its opportunity. All right, everybody. I am done here for tonight. I don't have anything else to go over. You are very welcome, Miss Betty. And let's see. Oh, you're very welcome, Miss Martha. All right, everybody, and we had Feeding Frenzy 91 there over on YouTube. Hello to you, and thank you. Bless you as well. All right, everybody, that's what we've got for tonight. We will be back live tomorrow night at our regularly scheduled time and programming, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, here on Facebook and YouTube. So feel free, join us then. We'll check in on what's going on with Imelda. We'll definitely go over the forecast for both systems and see if any of the threat level for Bermuda has increased, which I kind of expected that it will. And then we will also check in on our little swirly out here into the middle of the Gulf, and just to see what kind of activity is going along out there in the models. So have a wonderful evening, everybody, and we will talk to you tomorrow night. Have a great night. Bye.